Hello, my loves, and welcome to EQ with Jah. So, I am going to talk about something that I think everyone experiences, but I don't think we really express the way we should. I love watching romance. I love tarot. I love anything that's going to make me feel like my destined partner is out there waiting for me, just waiting for me. And that's what we've all been taught. There's a level of romanticism that goes into romance, which is like, as long as I act and look this way and I'm doing all these things that I'm supposed to be doing on the outside world, that I'm going to get this perfectly perfect person who exists on TV and in the movies and other people's relationships from the outside looking in. So I have to wait for this perfect thing. And the answer is it doesn't exist. There will always be, like I always say, think about when you were a kid. This reference has been used a lot. Do you still like eating every single thing that you like eating as a kid? I mean, some people might be like, yeah, and okay, then I would probably check your diet, because most things kids ate was pure sugar, pure garbage, and anything that they could pick up and chew on. And so I used to put sugar on my rice, and now as an adult, I'm like, salt and pepper. Why would I put sugar on my rice? But that's what we were used to. Our palates, our body, the things that we wanted at that time are totally different than what we know we emotionally need now. I was actually talking to Spirit, and we have a conversation where I'm an Aquarius moon, or an Aquarius sun, and an Aries moon. So I'm just fire, breathing fire. Everything I think has fuel behind it. It has energy behind it, but it also has a no nonsense type of way about itself. And I had to really talk to myself like, you can't fear every connection that comes into your life because of past life trauma. I've been in so many relationships where, me not knowing myself, going in thinking I'm Mr. Perfect, I actually have my own emotional baggage that's stored, not necessarily from my childhood because I cleared it, but it's still conditional from my ancestors, from my mom and my dad's history of what they were taught. Because remember, everything you become, you either replicate and imprint the exact template of your parents, or you become the exact opposite emotions of what they did, so you know not to do the opposite. Remember, everything we do in life is about teaching survival from that level of imprinting. When you're a child, you're being imprinted. As adults, we're being imprinted, but we have choice of the imprints. And that's where the level of hedonism kicked in for me, which is thinking I deserve, I want, I deserve. I do deserve everything that comes into my life because I work for it, I ask for it, and it happens. That's how spirit works. But when it comes to another human being, you cannot put stipulations on another human being. And no one's ever going to be everything that you want them to be. There are people who are damn near close to it, and there's people who say, this is my perfect person. Fine. That's okay. That's good. That's great. But that means that perfect person is working on themselves by themselves to a point that you don't have to see any of their shadows. And that is a beautiful connection. But you should also be able to share, like, no, we are a perfect relationship because we communicate, because we have our ups and downs, and we can rely on each other. Because when we get into a bad mood, we know that we don't have to take it out on the other, or the other doesn't have to get upset, because it's not about us, because we understand we're human beings. I met so many people who break up because, well, they got an attitude problem. That's possibly true. But that's when you have to remember, this person that you called in is a reflection of you. At one point in your life, even if it's the tiniest little drip drop. I was just having a reference with myself, which is to really think about, let's say, this bottle, right? This container is our body. All it knows to do is to carry the fluids that we put in it. That's all it knows to do. It's hold this liquid. And so if we keep pouring and pouring into it, the bottle isn't going to say stop. It's just going to keep overflowing. And then you have this overflow. If the bottle's getting empty, it's not going to say, hey, I'm empty. It's just going to be depleted. It's how you choose to fill this vessel. Now that we're on the container, let's switch it up to a tea kettle. A tea kettle is stored energy. And the mechanics of that tea kettle, just like the body, is to be an indicator to when you're not listening to it, right? So the water's boiling. You're not going to hear the water boil, but the tea kettle was built for you to go, woo. And guess what? That woo ain't going to stop because you hear it. It's going to stop until the water boils out, because that's all it's meant to do. It's not meant to do anything extra unless you get some electronic one and then it knows to turn itself off. You have to actually get up and release that vessel, that physical vessel that represents your body, and move it off of whatever source energy is giving it that fuel of fire to go woo, so it can breathe. Remember, we can fill up on so much negativity and we can fill up on so much positivity that's where we call people distorted and delusional, because they only see what they want to see, and they keep putting this picture perfect template on a person who's like, hey, I'm a person. I don't want to wear this template, but if it makes you happy, sure, I'll try. A lot of people go into relationships trying to appease another. I've said this before. I am not perfect in any sort of way, but I've always been authentic about what I have to say and who I am and how I represent myself. And I've met people where everything about them, and the pictures you can't tell, like, is this person? I understand when people are like, are you real? Because you meet someone online, IG, the photos, oh, they're perfect, everything's beautiful. You meet them in person, oh great, they look just how they look in person. Oh great, they know how to say yes and ask this and everything perfect, and they don't even fart around you. That's a problem to me. That means this person has so much pent up energy, physically, figuratively, whatever, mentally, that they're not allowing the body to just do its purpose. Remember, may the emotion be positive or negative. If you allow too much buildup, then the body is just an indicator to say, hey, I need you to release something. This is anxiety. This is depression. This is all these things. You can have anxiety about something good. You can be depressed about good things happening in your life. It's happened to me many a times, and I thought I was crazy because people are like, no, this is real depression. Okay, well, my life is great, but I feel depressed. Why? That's something that I get to acknowledge and ask the questions of, what is this connected to? And so when you start going back and reflecting, this is pent up energy that was never released. This is a pent up memory that was never processed. All of these things are just connected to speaking to the body so that the body can speak to the heart. Remember, the mind is the receiver. Everything comes through the eyes interpret that data, the ears come through here, the ears interpret that data, the senses, everything goes back to the brain. Then the brain creates all of these imprints and emotions that we see on the outside world. And whatever the emotional connection is that we found comfort in, doesn't matter what it looks like, whatever we found comfort in, we take a picture of it, and then we send that signal to the body. And the body interprets that into whatever it needs to interpret it into, affection, love, respect, whatever. And then the heart's like, yeah, this feels good. This is how we say, again, this was the secret. This is law of manifestation. It's all of it. Again, people forget that whatever you create, you're calling in, period. There's no good or bad or negative attached to it. You create the good or bad or negative attached to it. You understand? So let's say I'm like, I want this perfect type of guy. He has to be this height. He has to look like this. He has to be this. He has to be all that. Great. The universe just created it. They're coming towards you now. If I meet this perfect person and I'm traumatized from the past and all I have is, oh, but you know what? The last time a pretty boy came in like this, they hurt me. Oh, the last time I felt like this, I got hurt. Or the last time I got excited like this, I got lied to. Guess what? You're full of negative energy. So now the universe just created this beautiful, perfect vessel that comes into you. They're trying to pour into you, but guess what? They can't because they're blocked. You're full of solid, blocked off energy that they don't know what it is. It's heavy. They try to move it. It's too heavy. It's a liquid. They know it could be poured out, but only you can pour it out. Only you can move it. So now they're trying to pour love into you, but you're refusing to let it in because you're full of all the past energies of what you went through. Even if you just poured a little bit out, Make room for something that's trying to love on you. Make room for something that's trying to see you. Make room for something that's trying to hear you, because that's how it always works. This is how it will always work. I know it's confusing to some people, but you have to remember. Now, let's play this game. Let's say this person I see is trying to pour into me, and I have a little bit of space that I see. Okay, they pour in, and now oh, chemistry starts to change. I see where they're coming from. Oh my God, this person is real. They're really are who they're saying they are. Okay. So then, even though I have to sacrifice some of that love that they just gave me, okay, this is what people do. They hold on to a little bit of good love, and then they romanticize that person as, this was the best I ever had. No one's going to add up to them. This person ain't perfect either. But in order to keep making space for new love and new awareness, you have to pour a little bit out of what you got. That's just how it goes. You get 100, you get 50 back. They give you 25 back. It's just how it goes. You keep breaking it down. If you want to keep doing halves, that's just how the universe works. And then it fills you up again. So if you're making space for stuff that you know doesn't belong to you anymore and it does not serve you, this is how you start to release. So then when that energy that you created, that template comes in, then it can start filling in the space that you say you want it to exist as, this person you want to be. Again, you have to remember, if you want this beautiful person in your mind that you're creating, are you that beautiful person on the inside? I have learned from my past mistakes. Plenty of people told me, Juwan, you're amazing, you're amazing, you're amazing, but you are such a rock. You're so closed off that I don't feel like you're trustworthy. I feel like you're up to something. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'm not, but I can understand that presentation to someone else. Now, does that mean I have to change everything about me? No. But from my experience, that's how you end up isolated. That's how you end up creating trauma bonds. That's how you end up dating people that you just settle for because you were just like, you're close. There's a lot of people who do that. And then they go through all the trauma of this person who was never ready, never right, and never meant for them. And then they store that memory and that knowledge as real knowledge. And then they go back to calling in and doing mantras and praying to God to bring me this perfect specimen. And then God brings it. And then you're like, no, it's too good to be true. It's too good to be true. Turn it away. And then they leave. And you go back to doing the same cycle of garbage you've done to yourself and the misbeliefs and the distrust. And then you realize that person was perfect for me. Oh my God. Okay, I'm never going to do that again, Spirit. Let's do all the shadow work, all the trauma work. We do it all again. And then we become these divine sovereign beings. And we still go right back to that energy if we're not careful of knowing when. Once you meet another full person, baby, that means you got to dump something out. Even if it means the world to you, even if it's protected you, even if you think this is what you're supposed to do, you have to pour it out so that you can be filled up with something new. It's the only way it's going to work. Okay? So I hope this makes sense. I hope it landed with those that it needed to land with. But remember, every new journey begins with the last journey you left off at. Every new experience begins off at the last checkpoint you left off at. If every checkpoint in your life is fear-based, baby, that means you're going to have to go back and replay that level over again. Period. It's just going to happen over and over and over if we keep holding on and romanticizing experiences and relationships and nuances about what we daydream and want. It's okay to say, here's what makes me happy. Here's what I desire, and this is what I will manifest in my life because I myself am ready for this energy. I can receive this energy and know that sometimes I have to move out of my own way to let somebody else new in. It can't just be, well, this is my world and this is how it has to be and they need to prove themselves to me. There's a level of that's fun, but after a while, if you're starting to get to know someone, it's going to become exhausting. And they're like, why am I trying so hard to get into someone who I've already proven myself to, but yet they want me to prove more to them? At some point, we have to ask, who the fuck are we? You know what I mean? Like, who do we think we are? Putting ourselves in situations where you get exactly what you asked for and then you turn it away. And then you blame the world and the universe for not getting your way. This is how it begins. Self-love and self-healing begins with you. And when you make space for you and you make room for you, then you know how to make room for someone else. And then that person can come in and easily integrate into your life and see the things that you need filling. Because remember, as long as you take care of yourself, someone else will see how to take care of you better. I promise. All right, guys, I love you. As always, check me out on all my social media platforms. Check out the book. Check out the podcast. Everything's below. I love you. As always, take care of yourselves. Besos. Mwah.